This is Garis, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 338, entitled Masculist Scientists are the third wave feminists' most formidable enemy, intellectually crushing them. Description. This flyer says that the most formidable enemy of the hated third wave feminists who have taken over the divorce courts and made them so toxic for males that they have become indirect genociders, causing 2/3 of young men to avoid marriage, reject paternity and spend their money on themselves. These third wave feminazis are indirectly wiping out whole populations, so have to be stopped. One way to do this is with bullets, killing them in a sex war. The other major alternative is to have masculist scientists harangue them with masculist science so that the general public no longer believes in third wave feminism, seeing it as dangerous, based on fictions that do not stand up to scientific scrutiny. The aim of the masculist scientists is to destroy third wave feminism so that a sex war killing thousands/millions of feminazis can be avoided. Flyer itself. Masculist scientists are the third wave feminazis' most formidable enemy, intellectually crushing them. By Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. The third wave feminists aim to give women power at men's expense, treating power acquisition as a zero-sum game. That is, power gained by women is power lost by men, especially lately in the divorce courts, which are now third wave feminazi dominated. Divorce court lawyers and judges are nearly all third wave feminists who know nothing about masculism, so see gender oppression as a one-way street, that is, that men oppress women. So in their monoconscious eyes, in brackets, that is, only having had their feminist consciousness raised, they feel justified in feeling angry at men, and consciously or unconsciously tend to punish men in the divorce courts, getting their feminist revenge against men by financially massacring them, ruining their lives and making themselves truly hated by an ever-growing number of men, who then become masculists with a murderous hatred of feminazis, whom they see as misandrist, male-dumping, feminazi bitches. There's growing talk within the men's lib movement of literally killing divorce court feminazis. These divorced men, one father in 4, thus millions of men, use masculist ideas to justify their growing talk of killing them, going on a sex war to rid the world of these feminazi sadists who treat men as cash machines to be robbed, abused and then discarded, not giving a shit about the welfare of half the population. These men see these third wave feminazis as vermin to be exterminated in a sex war, where in the limit responsible males, masculist soldiers, will go out into the streets and simply shoot these feminazi vermin, arguing out this is the much lesser evil than putting up with the gender status quo, which indirectly is wiping out whole populations due to the toxicity of the divorce courts for men, causing 2/3 of young men under 35 to avoid marriage, reject paternity, and spending their money on themselves. Directly, it is these young men who are wiping out whole populations, but they are merely reacting to the toxicity of the divorce courts, controlled by the hated fluffy feminist hypocrites, the third wave feminazis. Thus these third wave feminazis in the divorce courts have become indirect genociders, so have to be stopped. If a sex war comes, the gender politicians will be assassinated, since they are the gender criminals who created these massively gender unjust laws in the first place. Then thousands of feminazi divorce court lawyers and judges will be murdered, and women will be stripped of the right to vote. Male voters will then men-fair the gender laws, reforming the divorce laws so that they are fair to men, e.g. throwing out alimony, making custody of the kids joint by default, allowing the owner of the house to keep it, socially engineering young women to become FIPs, financially independent persons, so that they become FIPs as adults, by getting a career competent education at high school and college so that they do not expect to parasite of the money of a man. But a sex war is still a war where thousands and perhaps millions of feminazis are killed. There is a more benign way that the masculist theorists are pushing, and that is to destroy belief in third wave feminism itself by making it non-credible in the public's eyes. This strategy to destroy third wave feminism relies on masculist scientists, the most formidable enemy of the masculists, because these masculist scientists will harangue feminazis at feminist meetings with strong masculist venom and verbal aggression, pointing out to the audiences at these meetings that most of the core ideas of third wave feminism are scientifically false and should not be believed in. The aim of these masculist scientists is to destroy the credibility of third wave feminism so that the general public no longer accepts it and better rejects it as dangerous, because indirectly these third wave feminazis have become genociders, indirectly wiping out whole populations. That it is far better to destroy belief in these feminazi ideas that don't hold up to scientific scrutiny than to kill thousands/millions of feminazis with bullets. So the masculist scientists aim to teach many more men to think like masculist scientists and to harangue the feminazis at their meetings and demos, yelling at them slogans such as "Feminazi genociders," "Divorce court sadists," "Misandrous bitches," "Feminazi vermin," "Iscyanate innumerate fairies," "child-minded gullibles," etc., etc. So, in order to intellectually arm more men, so they can help in the effort to intellectually crush third wave feminism as the more humane way of stopping the indirect third wave feminazi genocide of whole populations, here are some of the strongest masculist scientist arguments against third wave feminism that budding masculist scientists can use against these iscyanate feminazi bitches and against their girlfriends, dumping them once these young masculist soldiers see their girlfriends and female acquaintances as genocidal, who have to be stopped, punished, removed from power, removed certainly from the divorce courts, which is the real battleground in the sex war. So, what are the core beliefs of the feminazis that need to be destroyed using scientific reasoning? Question mark. I'll list a few of them here in bulleted form and then talk about them. 1. Women are the equals of men. Anything a man can do, women can do. 2. Women are as smart as men and should be treated with equal respect as men. 3. Men are toxic who need to be stripped of their power. 4. Men exist on this earth to pay for women to have babies. 5. The patriarchy, that is general male dominance, needs to be destroyed by giving equal power to women. 6. Women should be free to study whatever they want at high school and college. 7. Men's condescension in the workplace has to be stopped by law if necessary. 8. It's not enough to have equal opportunities for women in the workplace, but rather equal outcomes, that is, quotas for women, need to be imposed in the parliaments, company boardrooms, professorships at universities, etc., to ensure half of these positions of power are taken by women. 9. Men should stop seeing women as sex objects, as pieces of meat to be penised. 10. Women should have the right to stay at home raising kids if she wants. It is her choice. I could go on, but this list is already quite long, so I'll stop here. Note in this list, there is no claim that women should be given equal opportunities in the workplace, which is what second wave feminists were largely about. Masculists are in favour of second wave feminism because masculists are pushing for the creation of a FIP society in which all adults are FIPs, so that girls are socialised and educated to be FIPs, so that they don't expect to parasite of the money of a man, as 3/4 of 16-year-olds in Western countries do today, by choosing to study fluffy crap majors instead of career competent majors in their last 2 years of high school. Masculists push second-wave feminism, that is, equal rights for women in the workforce, because such rights are needed for women to become effective FIPs. Equal rights for women is a prerequisite needed by the Masculists to be able to push women to FIP up. Now what follows are refutations, based on scientific knowledge and Masculist ethics to some extent, that budding Masculist scientists need to know, to have as part of their intellectual armoury, as ideological weapons that they can use to cause women to see third-wave feminism as unbelievable, as dangerous, to be dropped so that humanity can survive, so that a sex war that kills thousands/millions of feminazis can be avoided. 1. Women are the equals of men. Anything a man can do, women can do. No. Women are not the equals of men. Research shows that women are dumber than men on average by 4 IQ points. YouTube Prof. Rushton, R-U-S-H-T-O-N, or Prof. Lynn, L-Y-N-N, on this. Men have a 10% higher IQ variance than women. That is, men's IQ scores are more spread out over the population than women's, which are more bunched up. So the morons and the genii are men. This is known because every year in the US, hundreds of thousands of school kids have their IQs measured. So the IQ variance ratio, that is, men's variance over women's variance, is very accurately known. And like clockwork, it comes out every year at 1.1, 1.1, 1.1, ... Since men are the genii, it's not surprising that men have won 99% of the science Nobel Prizes. It is men who create and build cultures, and it's women who parasite off them. Men only tolerate women because of their two traditional monopolies of vagina and womb. But the coming rise of the sex bots and artworms will soon destroy those monopolies. Then women's status will plunge. Men have much higher testosterone levels than women, so are much more aggressive, ambitious, dogged, persistent, so complete difficult tasks more readily than women. So there are many great men and almost no great women. Men are the superior sex, so deserve their higher status. 2. Women are as smart as men and should be treated with equal respect as men. See above to see that women are not as smart as men. Women have 10% smaller brains, hence 10% fewer neurons, 10% lower neural processing capacities, so don't invent much, create much, build much. Women are clearly inferior creatures, as shown by science, but most feminazis don't care that they are iscianists, preferring feelings to facts, which is why masculist scientists have such condescending contempt for them. Since men are the superior sex, men should be treated with greater respect than women, since women are really only tolerated by men due to women's traditional role of being baby factories and child raisers, which, although vital, is not status-worthy, since, to put it bluntly, any woman can fucking raise kids. 3. Men are toxic, who need to be stripped of their power. Women have always had a monopoly over reproduction. That is, it is women who decide which man gets to ejaculate inside her. Thus men are the way they are because women wanted it that way. For evolutionary reasons, women wanted men who were taller, bigger, stronger, fiercer than they were, to be better able to protect them against other men. Women also wanted men who were smarter than they were, because smarter men made better hunters, who brought home more bacon for her and her kids. So after tens of thousands of generations, men simply are taller, bigger, stronger, fiercer, smarter than women. If one looks at the percentage of female prime ministers and national presidents who went to war, it's actually higher than the male percentage. So the feminazis are being intellectually lazy in not doing their homework. 4. Men exist on this earth to pay for women to have babies. Resisting this deeply held attitude that women have, including feminists, is one of the core ideas of the Masculists, which is even in the very title of my book, that is, Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Manslaves to Women. Masculists aim to create a FIP society where all adults are FIPs, by parental socialization and societal education. So the girls are taught to be emo-fips, that is to have equal moral obligations, that is to expect to fip up by getting a career competent education, so that she becomes a fip and does not expect to be able to parasite off a man, which is an attitude that may get her shot if a sex war comes. Men will only have babies again if the gender laws are made men fair, and for that to happen, women, especially young women, need to vote with men to men fair the gender laws. Otherwise, men will continue to reject paternity due to the toxicity of the divorce courts, taken over by the hated fluffy feminist hypocrites, the third wave feminazis. 5. The patriarchy, that is general male dominance, needs to be destroyed by giving equal power to women. Most feminists are both inscienate and innumerate, that is, are unable to think scientifically due to ignorance of science and cannot calculate. They know nothing of biology and genetics. Nearly all women would fail the ribosome test, that is, to give a 2-minute talk on the function of the ribosome, showing they don't know the first thing about genetics or evolution or evolutionary psychology. Masculist scientists know that the patriarchy, that is general male dominance, with men occupying most of the positions of power, is due to 2 things. One is women's hypogamy, that is women's instinct to mate up, to obtain the superior DNA from a superior male for her kids, so that her kids end up with superior DNA compared to hers, which is good for the species, so it evolved. Since women sexually selected smarter men for 1,000,000 years, it's not surprising that men are smarter than women and dominate cultures the way Ashkenazi Jews dominate the US with their 15 IQ points average superiority over US whites. Thus the patriarchy that the third wave feminists are out to destroy is largely created by women, which is a hypocrisy that the masculist scientists can sneer at due to its wonderful irony. The other major factor causing the patriarchy is GMV, greater male variance. That is, men's scores on just about anything measurable will be more spread out over the whole population, including intelligence, ambition, persistence, etc. So of course, men dominate. The feminazi hope of ending the patriarchy is a pipe dream based on ignorance of biology, of science. Feminazis are inscienate fairies, living in a fairyland, believing what they want to believe without evidence, making them no better than religionists or flat earthers or creationists. 6. Women should be free to study whatever they want at high school and college. When masculists hear women say this, it's obvious to them that such women are monoconscious, that is, they know nothing about masculism. These women have not had their masculist consciousness raised. A woman can only be a fluffy, that is, a traditional woman who expects to be able to parasite off the money of a man, staying at home, being a mother, if some gullible man-slavable man is prepared to pay for her, to be sexploited by her. Thanks to the masculist and MGTOW movements, the supply of such gullible man-slavable men is drying up, as masculists and MGTOWs tell men via the internet that if they are fathers, they have a 1 chance in 4 of being financially massacred and having their lives destroyed by the hated fluffy feminazis in the divorce courts. One of the aims of the masculists is to force women to grow up, to fip up, by becoming emo-fips, by abandoning any hope of remaining a fluffy or be spat at, forced to rot on the shelf, by being forced into manlessness, and hence being loveless, sexless, babyless, and ostracized. 7. Men's condescension in the workplace has to be stopped, by law if necessary. Elite males don't take women seriously for the simple reason that women's track record is so inferior to men's. With women's 4 IQ point lower average IQ, women's 10% lower IQ variance and lower testosterone levels, the top performing males inevitably look down on women, seeing them basically as walking cunts not to be taken seriously. Those elite males who through their extraordinary abilities who rise to the top are the most likely to be the most condescending because they see the most clearly the genetic inferiority of women. The feminazis cannot cause this male condescension to disappear, that is based on science-confirmed reality, by making laws against it. Such a hope is childishly naive. Elite masculist scientists see women as having child minds who are short-sighted and irresponsible, not seeing the bigger picture, particularly the longer-term consequences of the crashing population due to the toxicity of the divorce courts taken over by the fluffy feminist hypocrites who only think of their short-term gains for women at their divorcing husband's expense. 8. It's not enough to have equal opportunities for women in the workplace, but rather equal outcomes, that is, quotas for women, need to be imposed in the parliaments, company boardrooms, professorships at universities, etc., to ensure half of these positions are taken by women. The masculists will fight this hard because men have higher genetic abilities than women. So if 50-50 quotas are imposed on men so that half of the positions of power are occupied by women by law, then that will sexually discriminate against men, since the bottom scoring women who get a power slot will be less able than the top scoring males who did not get a power slot. This is also bad for the culture, since it means that the most able people are not getting the top slots. Equal outcomes for women is pushed by the feminazis due to their isciency, their ignorance of male genetic superiority. They believe in equal abilities of women compared to men, simply because they want to believe in such a fantasy world, because it feels good. Facts are irrelevant to such iscient feminazis, which is why masculine scientists piss on them, discrediting them as iscient fairies, irresponsible child minds. 9. Men should stop seeing women as sex objects, as pieces of meat to be penised. Fat chance. Men evolved to be that way. So much of men's sexuality is vision-based. Look at the size of the fake-up industry, where women paint their faces, pretending to be sexually aroused with their red lipstick that attracts men unconsciously, tricking their brains to think that the lipstick-wearing woman is sexually aroused and therefore interesting for a man's gaze. Women evolved to be prostitutes to men in order to be more effective parasites of men's scarce male-hunted meat. Women lost their days of sexual heat, like dogs or monkeys, by having all their days of the month being in sexual heat. The human female is the sexiest of mammals in that sense. From men's perspective, the only really interesting attribute that women have is their vaginas. If all women sewed up their vaginas, men would be ignoring women within a week. The feminazis cannot fight men's biology, that women themselves played such a strong part in its evolution, since men are the way they are because women sexually selected men to be like that. 10. Women should have the right to stay at home raising kids if she wants to. It is her choice. No, it's not her choice. Masculists tell men that men have the financial power to force women to fip up or be punished by not getting a man. Women live into their 80s, so even women with 2 kids still have career windows of some half a century, so that now that women can work, they must work and have a powerful moral obligation to fip up to get a career-competent education, or women will be seen as fluffies and thus be hated by men. Women have a powerful moral obligation to fip up or be treated by men as manslaving, parasitic bitches who are punished by men by not getting one, hence being ignored and having no baby. Such women are vermin to men, and certainly to masculists. The masculists aim to wipe out such women by forcing them to grow up, to fip up, to take responsibility for their own lives, or be thrown out of society. A woman who stays at home raising her kids can only do that if she can get her financial claws into some gullible manslave. The masculists aim to wipe out manslavery by wiping out fluffies and fluffy feminist hypocrites with bullets if necessary in a sex war. But since the sex war is much more drastic and violent, at first the masculinist scientist haranguing of the feminazis will be applied, and only if that fails will thousands/millions of feminazis be killed. So, to you younger masculist scientists, absorb the intellectual tools above and use them to kill off belief in third-wave feminism so that a sex war is not necessary. All men should be so armed so that they can hit back hard at the hated feminazi bitches who are currently indirectly wiping out whole populations with their third-wave feminist takeover of the divorce courts, exerting their female power irresponsibly, short-sightedly, and so have to be stopped. Science is the best knowledge-generating system that men have ever invented, making masculinist scientists the most formidable enemy of the third-wave feminists, feminazis, because masculinist scientists have the power, the knowledge, the intellectual clout to destroy them, and destroy them they must. Otherwise, humanity is left only with the option of using bullets to remove them from the scene, an obviously less desirable alternative. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. In brackets, contains links to 300 plus YouTube, Minds, BitChute, Masculist essays/videos. And to the book, Masculism, Men's Rebellion Against Being Manslaves to Women. An e-textbook of 300 plus masculist flyers for men's studies courses. Ciao.